Here in Nashville, here's the Eclipse. Not saying that technology that I have can quite capture it, but things just grew pretty dim here in Nashville. And even now, it's just a really trippy, by the way. There's just people hanging out, probably kind of looking at it. But it's really trippy out here because it's daylight, but then it's like you kind of feel like you're wearing sunglasses. Well, even if you're not, like me right now, or you feel sort of like you are wearing 3D glasses, which these look like. But obviously, you can imagine where I'm going with this. Let me see if I can get that one more time. There it is. You can imagine where I'm going with this. Isn't it symbolic with hair loss at a younger age? How when you're 18, 19, 20, starting to maybe see the first signs of Norwood 1, maybe even Norwood 2, you're going to be a guy like me who's lucky to still have this much hair at 36, if you're lucky. That your whole future can be eclipsed by the fear of this. And it's funny because just the fear of losing hair can actually take away things from life, not the hair loss itself. But all of these preconceived ideas that you won't get a good job, that pretty girls won't date you, people won't take you seriously. It's all an eclipse. It's this idea that yes, that the world's going dark. And oh no, we better freak out. It's this black hole sun. In reality, it's just a temporary thing that if you can overcome it from within, then that's it. But it's all on how much power you give to this eclipse of hair loss. And as I've been saying here recently, a lot of you are actually not going to be bald in the next year or two. I mean, even if you are age 17 in Norwood 1, there's a good chance you're going to have until you're at least 30, 25 for me. When I was that age, when I was 19, and I had a lady look at my hair, she cut my hair my whole life, and she told me that I'd probably make it till I was 35, and so my whole years from like 19 to 35, I was like, okay, well, at least I'll make it till I'm 35. Like on the movie Big Fish, have you ever seen that? Where the guy finds out how he's going to die. So he knows that he lives to be into his 60s or whatever. So his whole life he doesn't fear anything because he knows he's not going to die. It's kind of like if you're told that you won't lose your hair until you're 35. And I think to a certain extent, that's kind of what we can do here on this channel, is to know that, and I feel that this needs to be a theme right now. As last week, I was coming to the realization of how many people think that the first signs of hair loss means that it's a complete collapse the moment that happens. When in reality, it could be a year or so, but it could also be many, many years. And maybe that is perhaps the most anxious part about experiencing hair loss, is you don't know when it's going to stop, and even if it does stop, when it may start again. Kind of like cancer, huh? Even if you're in remission, it can come back, all that stuff. I guess it is kind of like that way. And I think that part of the anxiety of hair loss is not something I've even talked about very much. The question I get on my channel is, am I going to lose my hair? Am I going to go bald? People put that in Google, they put it on YouTube, and then they find me. And then I pretend to be a hair loss expert. But I think we can't take away from the credit, from the power that anxiety of not knowing when the hair loss will stop, like that, I think has a lot of power over us as we first start seeing the signs of hair loss. So the question perhaps isn't, am I going to go bald or am I balding? Maybe the real question is, when will I stop balding? That's really the real question. It's not, am I balding, will I go bald? It's, when will I stop balding? And it's funny because that's a question that if you're just slowly balding, you're going to be asking yourself that your whole life, I suppose. I mean, put yourself in my position, age 36. I can still ask myself, when am I going to stop balding? Because, I mean, I don't know. So it's like the sooner in life you can get to the point where you realize that you're just as valuable with or without hair, and you can be just as confident with or without hair. When you can get to that point, then you don't have to ask yourself that every day. I mean, in theory, I'm saying I could ask myself, when am I going to stop going bald? But for me, I always tell myself tomorrow, because if I'm always expecting tomorrow, the day I'm going to be bald, there's no anxiety. It takes the power away from it when you acknowledge the fact that none of us know when exactly you're going to lose all your hair or when you'll stop balding. So just assume it's going to be tomorrow. And I guess in some ways that might make it a little bit easier. But until now, and I smell a skunk. A skunk must live in that tree. Yeah. Or, oh, in that drain pipe. Ooh, yeah, it like sprayed. So yes, this is my first video to truly acknowledge how much power the way that the solar eclipse takes away from the light of the sun. That not knowingness of when am I going to stop balding. Are you going to go bald? Yeah, I'd say you probably are going to. If you're watching my channel and you're experiencing Norwood or 2 as a teenager or in your early 20s, there's a good chance you're going to be base case scenario like me at age 36. So it's really a question of when. But if you assume it's tomorrow, it makes it easier to deal with, and you can move on with your life. And it's funny because I have to admit, the lady that told me when I was 19 that I'd make it to 35, it made those years a whole lot easier for me just knowing that. It gave me some time to know that I still got hair, but it also helped me prepare to be bald by the time I was 35. And then when my 36th birthday happened, I was like, well, at least I'm not completely bald.